Bernie Sanders might have not officially announced he's running for president, but I'm going to guess he's running for president. This from the usual smear outlet, Politico. Bernie Sanders staffs up for 2020. Bernie Sanders is adding firepower to his political team ahead of a potential 2020 campaign, locking down digital alumni who were key to his surprise performance in 2016 and recruiting the media production company that helped launch Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The flurry of activity, detailed by 4 people familiar with the campaign's thinking, is the latest sign that the Vermont senator is closing in on a decision on a second run for the White House. Means of production, the filmmaking cooperative that created the viral campaign video that propelled Ocasio-Cortez's House campaign, is in talks with the Sanders team about a major role in 2020. And 2 people who powered Sanders' record-breaking small-dollar fundraising operation in 2016 have agreed to join a subsequent presidential bid if it materializes, according to a Sanders campaign aide, Tim Tagaris and Robin Curran, his digital fundraising director and digital production director in 2016, respectively. The aide said another pair that have helped Sanders build a digital media juggernaut out of the Senate office, media producer Armand Aviram and digital director Georgia Park, are likely to be part of his 2020 team. The behind-the-scenes moves underscore one of Sanders' key strengths. He is poised to enter the Democratic primary field with a digital operation and social media army that outpaces virtually any other candidate, at least for now. For all the attention on Beto O'Rourke's online dominance last year, only Sanders would start the campaign on the foundation of a full-fledged, grassroots presidential campaign. So, but yada, 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 he is hiring a lot of people in the digital area. This is very, very encouraging because Bernie Sanders is, for a senior citizen, he's very smart. He's very down with the millennials. And by the way, it's not just millennials. There's a lot of older people that bypass corporate media and get their news on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on new emerging platforms, Instagram. And Bernie Sanders, what he's done since the 2016 election, instead of doing CNN every day, they've been doing original videos that you could find on Bernie Sanders' Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that, on issues, on Medicare for All, on climate change, on income inequality, on the fight for 15. His office in the Senate has been essentially producing original videos with real, breathing, human American citizens talking about their personal issues, income inequality, lack of health care, lack of education, the planet burning, and all that. Why this is so encouraging is a few things. Number one, I think Bernie Sanders, I hope, because frankly, I kind of was arguing with his campaign workers when I was at the Young Turks covering the campaign. Why is Bernie Sanders bothering going on CNN, on NBC, on MSNBC, writing Washington Post columns? Does he not understand that these outlets and these platforms are the very outlets that are trying to make sure he does not win? Does he not understand that the corporate media is not your friend, Bernie? Does he not understand that the corporate media is having him on essentially to push propaganda against him? I mean, Anderson Cooper tried to tie him to Fidel Castro and make him seem like a communist. Do you remember that? So I think what Bernie has learned, at his office has learned, and now by people who he's hiring has learned, is if he wants a real chance to win, I'm assuming he's running as a Democrat, which I don't agree with, but I assume that's what he's going to do. He has to bypass the whole corporate establishment and the corporate media. Doesn't mean he's never going to go on corporate media, but he needs to reach voters who are progressive, voters who don't consider themselves progressive, but are open to policies that are progressive. A lot of people are for policies that are progressive, but don't call themselves progressives. Just like a lot of people, if you ask them after Obamacare, are you against Obamacare? I'm against Obamacare. Are you for the Affordable Care Act? I'm for the Affordable Care Act. So Bernie, I think, is trying to reach people that aren't necessarily die-hard political junkies, but are affected by issues such as income inequality, climate change, healthcare, student loans, all of the issues. And also, by beefing up his digital operation, he's able to reach non-voters who don't typically vote. I think instead of trying to pick off establishment-minded people, older people who voted for Hillary Clinton, I think he's going to try and attract people that never voted, which a lot of people, that was a lot of his base in 2016. But also, if you look at the midterms in 2018, there was a lot of people who never voted that first voted in 2018 in the midterms. Why? Why? Because organizing and canvassing targeted people that didn't traditionally vote. And you know who else did that? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, by outworking at his sleep at the switch, Joe Crowley. She was knocking on door after door. They were targeting neighborhoods that generally there's a lot of people that never vote. And that's how she clobbered Joe Crowley. Bernie Sanders, basically Senate office, has been doing better journalism and media on issues than all of the corporate media combined. And this is how you reach people. A lot of people that generally don't vote or generally don't watch cable news or don't read the New York Times or aren't in the trenches on politics all the time, well, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they're on whatever else they're creating nowadays. So Bernie Sanders can reach them. And you know what? Most people that see his message that don't vote, wow, I think we should do things to help the planet and help the environment. Wow, I don't think it's right that all these rich people are hoarding the money and we're just living paycheck to paycheck. Huh, this guy's talking about ways to make free public college. I like that. There is a lot of people. Look at it this way. The highest cable news audience per evening, the highest audience in cable news is about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 million viewers. That would be either Sean Hannity or Rachel Maddow. Okay, 2.5, 3 million viewers. Well, 330 million people in this country. Cable news, the New York Times, the Washington Post, this is a very tiny percentage of the country. The majority of people who can decide elections are not diehard political junkies. They don't watch Jimmy Dore. They don't watch Jordan at Status Quo. They don't watch cable news. They're on, they're watching funny videos or they're watching, Bravo and TMZ. So I really, really like, and I'm encouraged by this, but more importantly, I mean, you think Bernie Sanders would be staffing up all of these positions if he hadn't already decided to run for president? I don't think so. The steps also suggest that Sanders has every intention of trying to reactivate the army of liberal activists he amassed 2 years ago, undergirded by an unapologetic democratic socialist message backed by a state-of-the-art fundraising and digital infrastructure. Quote, Senator Sanders maintains an organic and very expansive social media following that really only he has among possible 2020 contenders, said David Duhalde, political director of Sanders-founded Our Revolution. Quote, he has a significant advantage. Naomi Burton and Nick Hayes, activists in the Democratic Socialists of America, who left a global public relations agency and commercial production freelancing to launch Means of Production, rocketed into the national spotlight last year when they produced the hit ad highlighting Ocasio-Cortez's working-class roots and left-wing policies. It received 300,000 views in a day and eventually racked up nearly 4.6 million views on Twitter and YouTube. Quote, they've proven that they're on the cutting edge of popularizing progressive populist and democratic socialist politics in America, said Waleed Shahid, a spokesperson for Justice Democrats, the Progressive Political Action Committee that recruited Ocasio-Cortez. Burton said that the Detroit-based team would likely create, quote, big, beautiful ads and drumbeat content for Sanders if it was brought on for 2020. Quote, we have certainly been talking with his team, she said, adding that if Sanders runs, quote, he's the only candidate we would work for. So there you have it. I mean, he's got some of the brightest minds in digital media that want to work for him. They will be able to reach a hell of a lot more people than Bernie Sanders is going to reach going on CNN, going on MSNBC, going on with Chuck Todd, and going on with all these people that really have no interest in telling the truth about Bernie Sanders. Really have zero interest about telling the truth about anything. And by the way, if you have any doubt at all about what the corporate media's plan is in terms of Bernie Sanders coverage, let me show you a video from Meet the Press yesterday. But this is the kind of coverage you're going to see from corporate media on Bernie Sanders. Tell me if you see anything wrong with this message here.
All right, before I go, Cornell, you're the pollster in the bunch. I want to put up a quick straw poll that we had from Daily Kos. This is our only 2020 comment. We're going to get to this thing. And it showed here, these are sort of activist Democrats. I put this up here, the top 5. Bernie Sanders sits at 11. 4 years ago, Bernie Sanders had nearly 70% of these folks. What's going on here?
Well, you will also remember that Michelle Bachmann won straw polls after straw poll. A lot of what Bernie Sanders, I think, represented was the choice against Hillary Clinton in the primary. I think some of that was more a vehicle for anti-Hillary than a vehicle for pro-Bernie.
She'll say new is winning, that's for sure. All right, that's all I have for today.
Chuck Todd puts up a, quote, straw poll from the Daily Kos website. Are you familiar with the Daily Kos website? Are you familiar with that? Let me show you, if you're not familiar with the Daily Kos and what kind of politics they preach, let me find this tweet. The founder of the Daily Kos. Daily Kos community bought 25,000 roses for Speaker Pelosi, and I had the honor of delivering about 7,000 of them. The other 18,000 were donated by the Speaker to Walter Reed Hospital. Will be delivered tomorrow. So this is who they are putting out a straw poll from, to try and make it seem like Bernie Sanders is losing steam, like Bernie Sanders has no popularity at all. The very website bringing Nancy Pelosi 17,000 roses in her office. I hope you guys already ate dinner because I'm a little nauseous. This is what Bernie's dealing with if he goes on Meet the Press. This is what he's dealing with when he goes on corporate media. They're pushing this narrative that Bernie Sanders, he doesn't have a following anymore. Oh, people are done with Bernie. People want new energy. People want new faces like Beto O'Rourke. People want a young, new face. Bernie Sanders doesn't represent the Democratic Party, which is, becoming more and more young and people of color. And they're literally pointing to straw polls, whatever that means, from the Daily Kos, from a website that literally worships at the altar of Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi. Do I need to say more? So the last thing I'll say on this is I think that Bernie Sanders, when he announced his run in 2016, his campaign was essentially, I think, 4 or 5 full-time workers. So he was going up against the Clinton machine, which is the entire DNC, which was the entire, every state in the country, the local and state level establishment politicians, which was all the superdelegates, which was all the corporate media, and he had 4 full-time staffers when he announced in 2015. Now he's had time to plan. He's already building up his staff. He's going to have a new campaign manager. It's not going to be Jeff Weaver anymore. I think Bernie Sanders is going into this next presidential run with a much, much stronger infrastructure, a much, much better structure. He will have, hopefully, a campaign manager that, frankly, there were some problems with Jeff Weaver as far as people not loving working for him. So I think he's going into this, well, much, much better suited and much, much stronger than he was in 2015. He's going to have much, 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 much more propaganda and much, much more of a stronger opposition in 2020, because it's not just going to be Hillary Clinton. He's going to have Kamala Harris going at him and her bots, which I've already experienced, correct the record trolls going after me for the crime, the sin of posting who she takes money from. I've been basically called the new Grand Wizard of the KKK for having the audacity, the sheer audacity to post Kamala Harris's donors, if that tells you anything. He's going to have Cory Booker's, allies going after him, Joe Biden. And don't think just because Hillary Clinton is probably not running, God, please don't let her run, that you're not going to see the old Clinton network going after him. So you're going to need independent media out there.